Okay, this is going to be a review of the new Pebble smartwatch. I've had this watch for about a week now and have been using it extensively on iOS and on Android. And this is the Kickstarter edition. This is the black version. You can see that it's actually nice and shiny, nice and new, pretty good design, pretty nicely built from the outside. And we'll talk a little bit more about the features and what it offers with each different type of phone that you can use it with. So if we start off by talking about the size of this guy, the form factor on the internet specifies it as being 1.97 inches tall by 1.42 inches wide by 0.47 inches thick. And the width works out to be about 36.5 or 37 millimeters. And I actually have pretty narrow, pretty small wrists. So if you see this on my wrist, it fits okay. It's an acceptable fit to me. It's a bit too tall. You can kind of see how it almost hangs over my wrist. If you compare that to, say, a 38 millimeter Hamilton and also a 41 millimeter Tag Formula 1, you can kind of get an idea of the size of this guy. My wrists are small, so if you're a woman and you're considering this watch, you might want to think twice, depending on how large you like your watches. About 38 millimeters is about as big as I like to go for a watch size. So if you look at this again, the Hamilton's about as big as I like to go on my wrist. So when you put this Pebble up next to it, you can see it is actually quite large. So if you've got tiny wrists, you might want to think about the size factor. Like I said, I do find it acceptable. I don't think it's too big, but it definitely bugs me a little bit that it sort of hangs over the edge of my wrist. Other parts of the design that I do like, the glossy screen is actually really nice. I hope it doesn't scratch. I think that was a pretty big concern for a lot of people, that the display would scratch when you rub up against it, and I don't know, I haven't gotten any scratches on it yet, but as for now it's held up pretty well over the last week. The display is sharp, the text is really nice, it's very easy to see, it has a nice little backlight that activates when you shake your wrist. The button presses are nice and they feel good. The build quality feels good. The charging is easy. You get a little magnetic port, sort of a la MagSafe on an Apple laptop. Everything feels well built, well designed, well constructed. Standard 22 millimeter watch band that you can replace. This is just basically a generic rubber band that came with it. It doesn't feel cheap. It actually feels pretty good. I think overall they did a really awesome design for the aesthetic of the watch. It's really simple. There's not too many bells and whistles and knobs and gizmos. It's really clean looking. I actually really like, how it looks. This is the black one. They do offer a couple other colors. It is a bit of a fingerprint magnet, which you can see if I do that. So if you're sort of OCD about fingerprints on your screen like I am, you tend to wipe it off every now and then, which is kind of gets old after a while. But I guess if you don't touch the display, then you're okay. You just keep your fingers on the buttons. So how does it work as far as the connectivity goes to the phone and the usefulness of the features of the notifications? Well, so far I've had it connected to my iPhone and my Android and my other iPhone, and I've got 3 devices actually paired on here, so we can see how quickly it sort of switches between all 3. But for now, we'll look at the settings on this and actually go just through. If you scroll down and go to the settings, what we'll do is we'll go on the Bluetooth and show you that it's actually connected to 3 devices. And so it's connected to the HTC, the one iPhone, and the other iPhone, and it actually says that it's connected. So we'll actually try and switch over now and see how quickly the watch actually goes between devices. So if you like to have multiple phones, like I do, and you tend to change your phones pretty often, the watch actually will support that. So we'll go here, we'll flip off Bluetooth, and then we'll go back here on this iPhone, and we'll turn Bluetooth on, and then we'll see if we get connected here. We'll see what the watch says. It should connect to Steve. Well, it's been a couple minutes and it actually still says it's disconnected, so we'll flip on the Android phone here now and turn off Bluetooth over here on the iPhone and see if the Android phone can pick up where the iPhone leaves off. Typically I've actually been experiencing a better better connection with the iPhone or with Android than with iPhone, And so, yeah, look at that. Almost instantaneously, actually, it picks up that it's connected to the HTC. So I don't know why Android, in my experience, has been showing better connections than iPhone has been. But yeah, it's been really, really straightforward with getting this thing working on Android. Although one of the things I did run into, if we go in here and fire up the Pebble app, is you'll see that it doesn't actually support my built-in email, and I don't know what's going on with that. This is actually a rooted Droid DNA, but it does have a default email application in it, and if you actually look on the notifications, it says default email app not installed, so I don't know what that's about. But that's just one of the little things I've noticed on the Android, is that it doesn't seem to support everything in this Droid DNA. So I'll show you guys a notification here. We just had an email sent to my Gmail address, and we'll wait for it to come up again. The Android phone here, the Droid DNA is the one that's connected. So as soon as this receives the notification, it should be pushed automatically to the watch, and you'll see a little vibrate on the watch and the screen. You'll get the notification on the screen as well. You'll see the sender and a little brief message, a little bit of the header plus some of the message itself. There's the notification on the phone, and there's the notification on the watch. And so you can scroll down through the message and then go back to your clock face. Another example would be a telephone call that you can see who's calling. I'm going to go ahead and initiate a call on this other phone. The phone should ring. You can see the caller, and you can actually reject it right from the watch face, which is pretty cool. So you can see the phone is ringing. I can come here and I can say reject right from your wrist. So if your phone is in your pocket, you can say, hey, I don't want to talk to that person, and just push the little reject button, and it silences the phone, which is a pretty nice feature. One of the other cool features of the app is you can actually go through a sample notification, and you can see what actually happens on the watch when you push the button. So if I go to SMS on the app, it'll actually send a sample SMS to the watch, and so you can see, hey, this is what the sample text message will look like. And that's actually a real email that just came through as well. Again, and I can scroll through and read some of the email here and go back. The other nice thing about the Pebble app is you can come in and you can say what new watch apps are available, and so I can look through, go to Get Watch Apps. I'm assuming this will be updated in the future with new apps, but it's pretty easy to install big time in 24 hours. Let's go ahead and press that. It's going to save it, it's going to send it, it says it's done, and then it should be right in the watch itself. So if I go to the settings, and we'll scroll down, and there it is, Big Time 24. So very, very easy to install new watch faces, and I'm assuming new apps when they come out for this watch directly from your smartphone app. Startup on the watch is really fast, actually, from a completely powered off state. You hold the center button and boom, within 5 seconds it's actually on. Which is really nice. One part of it that's a little bit finicky is music control. I've got Spotify running on the Android, and I also have my built-in music player, and so the Pebble defaults to the built-in music player instead of Spotify, even if I have Spotify running and quit my built-in music player, it still calls the music player back. So I think maybe something needs to be worked out as far as being able to control multiple sources of music from the watch. I know the watch does work with Spotify because I've used it before, but it seems to be confused here between the Spotify app and the built-in music app. I know when it was originally announced, they had talked about the watch being available for fitness apps like Runkeeper and other fitness things for cycling and golf. And I know that Runkeeper right now doesn't yet work with Pebble, so I'm hoping that eventually it will be updated to work with the watch. It'd be nice to be able to control your activity and view your stats from your wrist as you're running or cycling. So hopefully that's going to happen in the near future. And that leads me to another point, which is that the apps for phones, I think, are the biggest selling point for this watch. You know, the API that they've released for developers, it's going to really allow people to customize their apps to interact with Pebble, and the fact that they've gotten so much funding from Kickstarter and had such a hugely successful Kickstarter deployment means that more and more people are going to have these things, and so the demand for apps that integrate with Pebble, I think, are only going to get stronger, and so it's going to be really cool to see what apps are written for phones that can work with this watch. And I can only imagine what's going to come down the pipe as far as being able to integrate your phone to your watch. So a couple other final things to talk about. Battery life on this guy. I've had it charged for almost a week, about 5 days. It's been on my wrist and connected to the phone. No problems with the battery, no issues as far as charging it goes. I haven't had to recharge it yet, still on the same initial charge. It'd be nice if you could actually check the state of the battery. I haven't seen a way to come in here and tell what's available as far as the battery life and how much the battery remains. If you come in here and go to About, it gives you some detail about the hardware, but it doesn't say anything actually about battery life. It tells you uptime since the last time it was rebooted. So it'd be nice if they could include that in another firmware update, maybe battery life or days remaining or something along those lines. So what's my final verdict on this? Well, I do like it, and I think it has really good potential. I think the feature set that it came with from the factory is good. Certainly good enough to use as an everyday smartwatch. It's only going to get better when software gets better and when more apps are available to work with the watch. I like the construction, I like the battery life, I like the ease of use, I like how sharp the display is, I like how clean the watch face is, I like how it looks. I'm not 100% thrilled with the size. I think that for me, the size would have been nicer to be a little bit smaller. You can see that it's pretty tight on my wrist. And the band's sort of too long because I have a small wrist, like I said in the beginning. It does definitely pass the line of dork factor. I had a few people comment at work about how this is pretty dorky, and I do tend to agree. It's nice, I like it. It won't stop me from wearing it, but when you consider other nice timepieces and how they look on your wrist and the Pebble, it's sort of a they're not really in the same ballpark. This is pretty geeky. But that's okay, because geeks are fun anyway. But something to think about if you're considering the watch and what other people might think of you when you wear it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check my other videos about different technology and mobile devices. And if you enjoyed it, rate, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.